Hey there, Vault Dweller. Welcome back to another dev dive for Fallout 76. I'm Nate Valenta with the community team for Fallout 76, and joining me today are a couple of designers from our upcoming Steel Rain update, which we're going to be taking a closer look at today. Brianna, Carl, how are you doing?
Doing all right, thanks, Nate. My name is Brianna, and I'm the lead quest designer on Fallout 76.
I'm Carl McKEVITT, and I am a quest designer on Fallout 76.
So, as a quick warning for those of you at home, we're going to be talking about upcoming quest content that we haven't released yet. It's the continuation of a story that we started with our Steel Dawn update late last year. And so if you're not interested in hearing any story spoilers, you may want to come back and watch this again at a later time after you've had a chance to check out some of the content in game. If you don't mind spoilers, we are going to try and keep them to a minimum so that we're not giving away too much, but feel free to continue on. With that said, as I mentioned, Steel Dawn left us with a bit of a cliffhanger. We had gone on some adventures with the Brotherhood of Steel, and there's definitely some tension in the ranks. Brianna and Carl, where are we going to pick up with the Steel Rain update?
Steel Rain starts almost immediately after the events of Steel Dawn. So the Brotherhood leadership is in disarray, facing a giant internal argument about their motives and their next steps. And at the same time, you just defended their base from an outside attack by super mutants. So the Brotherhood is in crisis, and it's going to be up to the player to step in and help show the Brotherhood the way forward.
That's right. The choice that you make at the end of Steel Dawn is one that the characters are going to remember. It was something really personal to them.
How about some of the returning characters? Is Scribe Valdez coming back? I know you had mentioned Paladin Romani and Knight Shin will play a pretty prominent role. But how about anyone else that we met during Steel Dawn? Are they going to be back, and will our choices be remembered by them too?
Yeah, it's actually, we've got quite a cast of characters that are going to be returning for this one. Some of them from Steel Dawn, some of them from content even earlier than that. We really wanted Appalachia to feel like a living world, and that the decisions you were making were kind of affecting these other groups and these other people. So Scribe Valdez, as an example, is a character who's deeply rooted into the Brotherhood. She's going to be a big part of the story still. She's kind of where the player is. She's between, the two big thoughts on the Brotherhood, and she assists the player in some quests and making those tough decisions.
Ooh, I'm intrigued by the earlier content you mentioned. So who's coming back that we're going to meet up with from content that we've already played?
So one good example is a character, Marcia, who was a member of the Brotherhood, not necessarily an initiate, but she was traveling with them, and her younger brother, Max. They were characters that were hanging around in Fort Atlas, and we start to get to see more stories with them involved and kind of the way that they've been interacting with the Brotherhood. We've also got the Raider War Party, which you either in a friendly or not so friendly way interacted with in Steel Dawn, that you will once again be bumping into. And we get to see some interesting evolutions of those characters and their relationship with the Brotherhood.
How about beyond the Brotherhood itself and beyond Fort Atlas? Are we going to be meeting up with any factions or characters who are outside their walls?
One of the groups that players will encounter during Steel Rain is called the Hellcat Mercenaries, and their origins and their purpose in the storyline would be a spoiler. I'm not going to go too much into who they are, but they are a group of professional soldiers that are tied up in the story and that you're going to encounter as antagonists as you're playing through.
Another group is the Blue Ridge Caravan Company. They were a faction involved in the Riding Shotgun event. But they are involved with the Brotherhood this time around, and some of the larger stories that are happening in Steel Rain. And so it'll be really exciting to revisit them.
Interesting. I know we've got some fans of the Blue Ridge Caravan in the community, so they will be excited to see them taking a bigger part in a story portion of the quest. So when it comes to something like that, for example, like the Blue Ridge Caravan or a new faction like the Hellcat Mercenaries, what is your thought process when it comes to weaving them into a new quest or a new storyline?
So when we go to create a new group like the Hellcat Mercenaries, what we do is look into the lore of Appalachia. Where might they come from? What's their origin? What have they been doing since the war? Finally, what do they look like? Do they have a uniform? Who are they represented by? Who joins them? And what role do they play in the story? So what we found in Appalachia is when you encounter human groups, you're most often running into raiders or cultists. And the Hellcats represented an opportunity for us to bring in a more organized military group that might operate differently and have a different impact on Appalachia.
And for something like Blue Ridge, that's a case where we were building content and we felt like it would make the most sense to have a faction that's kind of responsible for this. And it was a really fun process to be part of something where you're building kind of from the ground up an entire history of a faction like that, how they existed before the war and what their motivations are now. And it was really built all around that content initially, but it's fun now to evolve that and kind of say, okay, maybe they were here just to supplement this event, but now they're kind of integrated more into the world, which means they bump into other factions like the Brotherhood. And how do those two parties interact with each other?
Beyond Fort Atlas, new quest lines tend to take us to some cool new environments and have us visit a lot of new places. Are we going to be looking at new locations in this quest line?
Yes, so you'll be visiting a combination of older locations that you might not have explored thoroughly in the past or that have some new things going on in them, as well as some locations that we've added just for Steel Rain. One of my favorites is the Uncanny Caverns, which is a location that's been in the game from the beginning. It's got a fascinating history and story of its own, but you're going to see it in a new light during Steel Rain. You're going to explore some parts that you've never been to before, and you're going to see some changes in the environment that have recently taken place.
Another example is Harper's Ferry. There's a big landmark there, the bridge and the tunnel. We'll get to explore what's inside that tunnel, which is something I personally wanted to do since the game launched. And we'll see quite a few secrets in there, even some callbacks to some earlier content. I won't spoil what those are, but that's a really fun new environment for players.
Awesome. And some of the folks I talked to in the public test server, one of their favorite locations is the new vault that we're cracking open. Can you tell me any more about that?
Vault 96, you've already been able to access as a daily ops destination for a while now, but the story for Steel Rain also brings us into there, where you'll be investigating one of the main mysteries of our story and learning a bit more about what's behind the Screw Mutant attacks and the missing people that you'll be taking a look at.
Well, I know some players have really enjoyed exploring Vault 96 so far outside of daily ops, and so I'm excited for more folks to get a chance to look at it. How about rewards? We're helping out the Brotherhood. We're doing all this hard work for them. What's in it for us at the end of the quest line?
You're going to get a variety of great rewards for finishing the Steel Rain quest line. One of the things that you're going to see is the Facebreaker Power Fist, which is a custom Power Fist that you'll receive pretty early on in the quest line. There are also a couple of outfits that you'll be able to collect. A new mercenary outfit that's associated with the Hellcats, as well as a civilian outfit for a member of the Brotherhood that you get to spend some time with during the quest chain. For your camp, there's going to be a cryogenic bed for you to sleep in if you like the futuristic look or the high technology look. And finally, there's a whole new set of power armor that is custom themed for the Hellcats.
And as a quick side note, that Hellcat power armor has a few special bonuses when you're wearing it. So if you're interested in acquiring a set, definitely complete the Steel Rain questline and get your hands on it. So when we as players were playing through the Steel Dawn questline late last year, we definitely had to make some tough choices during that story. How did those choices have an impact on the Steel Rain content?
So depending on how you roleplay your character, you might have allegiances to different factions. You might have better relationships with one faction than another, like the Raiders or the Settlers of Foundation. And both of those factions are ones that you encountered and have their own reactions to the Brotherhood. And how you represented yourself and the Brotherhood to them is going to matter. Additionally, a lot of people that you had encounters with are going to remember how you treated them and what your attitude was. And that's going to come into play with how much they trust you or what they think of you moving forward as the Brotherhood storyline continues.
And I think a lot of us on the team, when we're testing internally, we all have our preferences on which factions that we like. So we're constantly thinking about, is my character responding in a way that's representative of the type of choices that I'd be making as a character who supports this faction or that faction? So it's always fun to go through after you've even crafted the storyline and say, hey, my character's more of a raider, so I'd like chances to do this or that differently. And so, all the quest designers are really into the role-playing aspect of these games. So we always make sure to kind of make sure that the story lines up with all these different avenues.
That is very cool. I mean, I know you can't account for every roleplay situation, but it's neat that you sort of go back and revisit it with that critical eye of, can I roleplay this as a raider, or can I, roleplay this as someone who is uber nice or something like that. Personally, I think I'm going to run into some problems when I play through with my relationships based on some choices, but live and learn, I guess. Very, very cool look at how we're going to be making choices in Steel Rain. How about beyond the Brotherhood storyline itself? Do the choices we've made in that storyline have any impact outside of the Brotherhood?
The biggest consequences of the choice that you make in Steel Rain will be on the Brotherhood itself, determining who's going to lead that faction into the future and how they relate to the rest of Appalachia. But one of the things that we wanted to get right is making sure that there's room for different kinds of players to make different decisions, which means that you're mostly going to see the consequences of your decisions in interactions with members of the Brotherhood and characters that are close to them.
Right now, the Steel Rain update is available on the public test server. Before Steel Dawn came out, that was available on the public test server as well, and now it's available in the live game. When players play through the new quest content and they share feedback with us, how does that change, or how does the team take that feedback in and use it going forward when they create new quest content?
As a team, we pay close attention to what players are saying on PTS, what their reactions are to the story and the characters, and the things that they say that they want to see in the future. So what we did was we looked at the reactions that players had, what they said about how they wanted to roleplay their characters, and we tried to find opportunities to work that into the ending of the storyline in Steel Rain. We know that sometimes the community gets behind one character or another. There are some people who really like Paladin Romani. There are others who are big fans of Knight Shin. And there are other people who are big fans of Scribe Valdez. And so what we try to do is make sure that the interactions with each of those characters in the finale are satisfying.
Well, it's really good that all three of those characters are coming back for this storyline then, so that, folks can continue to learn more about them and build relationships with the ones that they love to talk to. How about any other cool moments from the development process? You both and many others on the team spend hours and hours, pouring your heart and soul into the characters and the backstories and the conversations and where the quests are going to take us. Are there any other fun stories or exciting stories about the development process that you can share with us?
Yeah, one of my favorite moments is always, we spend a lot of time trying to get the drafts of our dialogue right. We go through a lot of feedback with other people on the team, and it really doesn't quite come alive until you've sat and heard an actor perform the lines for you. So early in the game, before any of the dialogue is recorded, we use we use synthesized voices. We call it Robo Voice. And once the content transitions from having the Robo Voice lines in place to having the real ones, that for me is the moment when the content really comes alive, and it feels like you're much more immersed in the world and actually experiencing everything that we planned and started work on a while ago.
Neat. Well, you sure as shit ain't getting it on the rocks.
That is definitely a good point. When you're playing through something internally, it's just such a huge turning point that goes from, wow, this is being worked on, to this feels pretty close to being done. So I can definitely sympathize with that feeling. How about any other fun experiences from working on the quest line, Steel Rain specifically?
So one somewhat Easter egg that has been being worked on for a little while is there is a character who's going to be involved in this who has somewhat of a mysterious past, and we have been very slowly putting in clues since that character's introduction to kind of tie back who they really are. So I'm kind of excited because we finally get to reveal who this character was. I don't think it's going to be the most earth-shattering revelation in the world, but I think it's a pretty fun one for me because it's been a long time coming.
I'm sure it'll be solved day one of release.
Probably.
All right, well, that just about does it for our Steel Rain Dev Dive. Thank you so much, Brianna and Carl, for taking the time out of your busy day to join us and talk all about the Steel Rain update that's coming in July. Really appreciate you both being here.
Thank you for the chance to talk about the development process for Steel Rain, and we hope that players love the content as much as we love making it.
Happy to be here. Can't wait to see what people think.
Thank you again for joining us. And for those of you at home, you can actually jump into the Steel Rain update on the public test server right now if you own a PC copy of Fallout 76 on Bethesda.net. On July 7th, we're planning to release the Steel Rain update for the live version of the game, and we can't wait for you to get your hands on it. Until then, we'll see you in Appalachia.